Welcome back to Vox Terra. I'm going to pull out a chart or two from the Federation of American Scientists comparing nuclear warheads by nation, especially focusing on the US versus China comparison. Over my whole lifetime, an endless stream, it seems, of what I call China bashing, warnings about China going back to my early childhood. Well, stop. We need some introspection. We need to do what the Bible says. Look at the mote in thine own eye before criticizing your neighbor. That's the only way there's going to be growth. Consider what financial interests are served by this constant China bashing. What opportunities are missed or are distracted from? What change at home is being prevented? What prejudices are being fueled? And to what degree are our adversaries objectively there? And to what degree are they created as an almost self-fulfilling prophecy? So here from this bar graph, the Warhead Count, Russia, 5,997, comes in at top. The US, 5,428 warheads. China, 350 warheads. France, 290. The UK, 225. Pakistan, 165. India, 160. Israel, 90. And North Korea at 20 warheads. Well, in my opinion, it is really healthy to play the game of what I call flip it around in your head. That's what made me never buy into the invasion of Iraq. When most of my countrymen and coworkers were literally angry with me for not supporting it because I flipped all the arguments I heard around in my head. So think about that number. US at 5,428 warheads and China at 350, North Korea 20. Well, from their point of view, China is and has been targeted since the Cold War with thousands of nuclear warheads. We, the US of A and allies, have a massive troop presence in Asia near China's shores, with bases in South Korea, Japan, the Philippines. Recently, the arms sales of nuclear submarines to Australia. They're working to pull India into a contained China alliance. What if it were all flipped around and there was massive troop presence of China and allies off of America's shores? How would the American politicians and media be reacting? President Nixon brokered the One China deal that led to China opening up to capitalism and markets again in exchange in part for acknowledging a One China, that China and Taiwan could unite someday. Well, instead, we have been strengthening our ties with Taiwan, our military ties. As far as I can tell, our State Department has been going around making trade deals that seem to be aimed at excluding or limiting China from those deals. This isn't new. What if underreported in our history is what's called the Opium Wars? Back during colonial times, Great Britain burned down the Chinese Navy. Do you know why? Well, what they would have said is because of unfair trade practices. Similar language we hear today. That unfair trade practice was China's emperor banning the import of opium. After that ushered in what some historians call the 100 years of humiliation, where China got carved up by Western business interests. And the US of A even sent in troops to suppress the Chinese Boxer Rebellion. Well, how was that justified to the public at the time? What were the national interests in holding down that Chinese rebellion? And what about today? What covert operations go underreported or are classified that sure our public would justify, our media would justify as we're supporting the dissidents? But does it really end there? Look at what happened to Libya, the uprising we and the NATO allies supported. Now Libya is in chaos. Google slave trade in Libya. Actual human slave trade returned after our so-called liberation. How about our overthrow of the Iraqi regime? Who benefited from that? Neither the United States nor the Iraqis. And look at our attempt at regime change in Syria. Well, if you were in China and you were a Chinese, let's say, patriot, for lack of a better way of putting it, how would this all look to you? Why doesn't our media present it to us that way so we can see how it looks to others? As I pointed out before, underreported goes those massive defense industry contributions to our politicians in the millions, and the $20 million average CEO pay that I've cited for you before in those defense industries. And my understanding is that they are hyping up what is called great power conflict as justification for more sales. Well, when you hear politicians and defense experts touting the threat from China, they are not disclosing their contributions or ties to those for-profit industries. But not just that, what about the nuclear waste and radioactive hazards from all of this nuclear arsenal? The cancers to the uranium miners, the military personnel who work with these, and the public at large as far as where you store all of these nuclear wastes. All this emphasis on contained China trade deals, well, what good is that really doing us, the American people, or the people of any of the nations involved in this? Are we benefiting from greater sales of agricultural products, export that is, that are laden with pesticides and herbicides, contaminating our own soil, air, and lungs? As far as I can tell, saber rattling at foreign adversaries has always been used as a justification to defend business as usual. We see that today with a conflict with Russia as a justification for opening up more oil and gas exploration. Well, hey, I hope you found this video helpful, enlightening, mind-opening, interesting, a little entertaining, and if so, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. You click the notification bell, you're commenting, you're liking, you're donating at Patreon, and thank you to my donor from Environmental Coffee House. These videos are a lot of work and really time-consuming. I put a lot into them. And until next time, and as always, peace be with you.